Fasting is a topic that has been discussed for centuries across cultures, religions, and philosophies. It is as ancient as human history itself and has been embraced as a practice of purification, discipline, and connection to something greater than oneself. But beyond the rituals, beyond the religions, fasting holds power. And it's a power that often goes unnoticed in our modern world, a world that's obsessed with instant gratification, constant consumption, and noise. But fasting offers a different path, a path of silence, stillness, and awakening. It's a way of taking a step back, recalibrating the mind, body, and spirit, and reclaiming control over the very thing that keeps us moving forward, our desires. We live in a time where distractions are endless. We have the internet, the news, social media, the 24/7 rush of life. It's a flood of noise pulling us in every direction. We wake up, we check our phones. We go through our days bombarded by messages, tasks, demands. We eat when we're not even hungry, and we drink when we don't need to. We're constantly feeding ourselves in every sense of the word. But what is it really giving us? What are we truly receiving when we continuously consume? Fasting, in many ways, is an antidote to all this. It is an opportunity to turn off the noise, to quiet the mind, and allow space for clarity. There's a reason that fasting has been practiced for centuries, not just for physical health, but for spiritual growth. It is not just about abstaining from food, it's about cultivating an awareness of the self. It's about realizing that we are not our cravings, that we are not our appetites, we are not our thoughts or the constant pull of desire. Fasting gives us the space to detach from these things and reconnect to something deeper, something more profound. Now, fasting isn't always easy. It takes discipline, commitment, and a willingness to face discomfort. The body will scream for food, the mind will race with thoughts, and the world around us will try to pull us back into its chaos. But it's in those moments of discomfort that the true power of fasting is revealed. When we strip away the distractions, when we remove the crutches that we rely on, whether it's food, entertainment, or even the approval of others, that's when we truly begin to confront ourselves. We come face to face with the raw, unfiltered version of who we are. And that's a powerful thing. Because let's be honest, many of us live lives of distraction. We keep ourselves busy with work, relationships, and social media, constantly filling our days with noise. But the question is, what are we running from? Why do we keep ourselves so occupied? The answer often lies in fear. Fear of silence, fear of facing our own thoughts, fear of confronting the inner conflicts and struggles that we've avoided for so long. Fasting forces us to confront those fears. It doesn't give us a choice. It makes us sit with ourselves in the most uncomfortable way possible. But it's in this discomfort that growth happens. It's in this moment that transformation begins. When we fast, we start to understand the depth of our own desires. We begin to notice how often we reach for food, how often we reach for something to numb ourselves. The same could be said for how we use technology or entertainment to escape. But fasting brings us back to a place of awareness. It forces us to ask the question, why do we do this? Why do we continue to consume without ever considering whether we truly need it? And once we start asking those questions, we open the door to change. We open the door to freedom. There is a misconception that fasting is about denial or punishment, that somehow by withholding food or indulgence, we are depriving ourselves of something. But fasting isn't about deprivation, it's about elevation. It's about lifting ourselves to a higher plane of consciousness. When we deny ourselves the constant pleasure of food, we create space for something else to emerge. We create space for clarity, for insight, for the true nourishment that doesn't come from the plate, but from within. And that's the real power of fasting. It teaches us to differentiate between what is truly necessary and what is just excess. In a world where everything is available at the click of a button, where we can order food, buy clothes, or stream a movie with ease, fasting becomes a radical act. It's a rejection of the culture of excess. It's a declaration that we are not slaves to our desires, that we can exercise control over what we consume, and by doing so, we regain control over our lives. Fasting challenges us to recognize that we don't need everything the world tells us we need. We don't need the latest gadget, the newest trend, or the endless supply of entertainment. What we need is simplicity. What we need is to strip away the layers that cloud our perception and rediscover what truly matters. But fasting is not just a personal journey, it's a universal one. The practice of fasting transcends individual experience and connects us to a larger collective energy. When we fast, we are reminded that we are part of something greater than ourselves. We are part of a long tradition, a legacy of people who have used this practice to grow, to transform, and to find meaning in their lives. We are connected to every individual who has ever fasted, to every culture that has embraced this practice. It is a bond that transcends time and space, reminding us that we are never alone in our journey. In this sense, fasting is not just a spiritual or physical practice, it is a call to action. It calls us to examine our lives, to look at our habits and routines, and to challenge the status quo. It invites us to reflect on our choices, to question the patterns of consumption that we've become so accustomed to, and to make decisions that reflect our true values. It forces us to become more conscious of the world around us and how we interact with it. Fasting is a radical act of mindfulness. It compels us to live in the moment, to be present with ourselves, and to connect with the deeper parts of our consciousness. But fasting also requires patience. It requires trust in the process, even when the discomfort feels overwhelming. It is not an immediate fix. It is not a quick solution. Fasting is a journey, and like any journey, it takes time. The power of fasting lies in its ability to transform over the course of days, weeks, or even months. It's not about what we experience in the short term, it's about the lasting changes it brings to our lives. When we begin fasting, we might feel weak, tired, or irritable. But as time passes, something shifts. The mind becomes clearer. The body becomes lighter. The spirit becomes more attuned to the present moment. Through fasting, we start to realize that the things we once thought we couldn't live without, food, technology, entertainment, are not the things that truly sustain us. What sustains us is our connection to ourselves, our ability to withstand discomfort, and our ability to find peace in the silence. It is in the stillness that we find our true strength. It is in the moments of hunger that we discover a deeper sense of fulfillment. This is why fasting is not just a personal discipline, it's a transformative force that can change the way we approach the world. It has the power to shift our relationship with consumption, to reshape our attitudes toward excess, and to reconnect us to our purpose. When we learn to fast, we learn to master our desires. We learn to become more mindful, more present, and more connected to the things that truly matter. We don't have to fast for long periods to experience these benefits. Even a single day of fasting can provide insight into our habits and our relationship with consumption. It can reveal the patterns that we've become so accustomed to and help us understand what it truly means to be free. The power of fasting is not measured in how long we go without food, it is measured in the changes we experience as a result of that practice. It's about the transformation that takes place within us, not just the physical act of abstaining. In conclusion, fasting is not just about food, it is about life. It's about stepping away from the chaos of the world and rediscovering what truly matters. It is about reconnecting to the essence of who we are, stripping away the distractions and finding strength in silence. Fasting has the power to transform our lives by teaching us to live with intention, to control our desires, and to seek out what truly nourishes us. When we embrace fasting, we embrace a path of growth, clarity, and freedom. It is a path that leads to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Fasting is a deeply transformative practice, one that reaches far beyond the simple act of abstaining from food. It is a path to self-discovery, a journey into the core of our being where we begin to understand who we are in the most fundamental sense. In a world saturated with distractions, digital media, the relentless hustle of daily life, and the constant consumption of food and entertainment, it is easy to lose touch with our selves. Fasting provides an opportunity to step away from these distractions and reconnect with who we are beyond the noise. It offers the chance to see ourselves in a raw, unfiltered light, providing insights that can shape and redefine our lives. The first step in understanding fasting as a path to self-discovery is recognizing that it is not about denying the body's natural needs. It is not about punishment, nor is it about simply depriving oneself of food. Rather, fasting is a conscious decision to pause, to withhold for a time, and to look inward. When we fast, we create an opportunity to step away from the external world and focus on our inner landscape. This process of withdrawal, whether from food, technology, or other distractions, forces us to confront the parts of ourselves we often ignore. In modern society, we are conditioned to believe that happiness, fulfillment, and success lie outside of us in the material world, in accomplishments, in the opinions of others, in external validation. We live in a culture of consumption, where we are constantly encouraged to acquire more and more things, more experiences, more attention. But this cycle of consumption doesn't lead to lasting satisfaction. Instead, it creates a sense of emptiness. We fill our lives with so much, yet we still feel like something is missing. Fasting acts as a reset. By abstaining from food or indulgence, we create space to reflect, to recalibrate, and to reconnect with the parts of ourselves that might have been lost or buried. When we remove external sources of comfort and pleasure, we are left with only ourselves. This can be uncomfortable, even painful at times, but it is also profoundly enlightening. It's in these moments of discomfort that we begin to truly understand our deepest desires, our fears, and our motivations. Fasting forces us to confront what is within, to face the parts of ourselves we might have been avoiding. It challenges us to move beyond the surface-level distractions that we often use to numb ourselves, whether it's food, technology, or social validation, and dig deeper into the core of who we are. In this process of self-reflection, we may uncover parts of ourselves that we didn't fully know existed. These revelations can be both surprising and liberating. For instance, we might realize just how much of our lives are driven by external forces, how often we eat out of habit rather than hunger, or how much of our time is spent responding to the demands of others rather than our own inner compass. Fasting gives us a rare opportunity to examine these patterns and begin to understand the underlying motivations behind them. But fasting is not just about uncovering what is hidden. It is also about deepening our relationship with ourselves. In the quiet of fasting, we begin to develop a new awareness of our bodies and minds. We become more attuned to the signals our body is sending. We learn to distinguish between genuine hunger and emotional cravings, between what we truly need and what we have been conditioned to want. In this space, we learn to listen not only to our bodies, but also to our inner voice, the part of us that knows what we truly need for growth, peace, and fulfillment. This process of learning to listen can be life-changing. We often underestimate the power of being still, of simply being present with ourselves. In a society that constantly pushes us to keep moving, to keep achieving, and to keep consuming, fasting offers a rare moment of stillness. It invites us to be present with our thoughts, our emotions, and our bodies without the distraction of external stimuli. This stillness allows us to reconnect with our own essence, to rediscover what truly matters, and to let go of the things that no longer serve us. Moreover, fasting can serve as a powerful tool for letting go of attachments to food, to material possessions, to the opinions of others, and even to our own ideas of who we are. We live in a world that encourages attachment in every form, from our relationship with food to our identity and self-image. But true self-discovery comes when we learn to release these attachments. Fasting teaches us that we are not defined by what we consume or by our external circumstances. We are not defined by our habits, our status, or our possessions. We are defined by something much deeper, something that lies within. Through fasting, we can strip away the layers of conditioning and uncover the essence of who we really are, free from the influence of the world around us. This process of detachment is not always easy, but it is deeply liberating. By releasing our attachments, we begin to experience a sense of freedom that we may not have felt before. We no longer feel bound by the need to consume or to constantly seek external validation. Instead, we become more centered in ourselves, more connected to our own inner wisdom, and more at peace with the world around us. This sense of freedom is one of the greatest gifts fasting can offer. It helps us to understand that true fulfillment comes not from accumulating more, but from embracing who we are and living in alignment with our truest self. Fasting also invites us to reconnect with the present moment. In our busy, fast-paced world, we often find ourselves rushing through life, caught up in a never-ending cycle of doing, achieving, and acquiring. We are constantly looking ahead, planning for the future, or reminiscing about the past. But fasting teaches us to slow down and be fully present in the moment. When we are fasting, we cannot focus on the future or dwell on the past. We are forced to be here now. And in that space of presence, we begin to experience life more fully. We begin to appreciate the small, simple things that often go unnoticed: the sensation of hunger, the stillness of the mind, the quiet of our surroundings. These moments of presence, though small, can have a profound impact on our sense of well-being. This present moment awareness is a key aspect of self-discovery. It helps us to recognize our true feelings and needs in the here and now, without the interference of external distractions. It helps us to break free from the mental chatter that often clouds our judgment and to see things more clearly. When we are present, we can make choices that align more closely with our values and our deeper sense of purpose, rather than being driven by the desires or expectations of others. Fasting also teaches us resilience. It challenges us to endure discomfort and to face the inevitable moments of weakness that arise when we withhold from something we desire. In these moments, we learn how to sit with discomfort without reacting to it. We learn how to remain steady, how to ride out the waves of hunger or emotional unrest, and how to find peace even in the midst of challenge. This resilience is not just physical, it is mental and emotional as well. It teaches us to manage our thoughts and emotions with grace, to remain grounded even when life feels chaotic or overwhelming. Through fasting, we develop the inner strength to endure hardships and the wisdom to navigate life with more equanimity. As we continue on this path of fasting and self-discovery, we begin to experience a profound shift in our relationship with the world. We start to see the things we once valued: material possessions, status, comfort, in a new light. We realize that these things are fleeting and often empty. True fulfillment, we discover, does not lie in external achievements or possessions, but in the depth of our inner life, in the quality of our relationships, and in our connection to the world around us. Fasting helps us to recalibrate our priorities and to realign our lives with what truly matters. In the end, fasting is a path that leads us back to ourselves. It is a practice that strips away the distractions and attachments that have kept us from seeing our true nature. It is a tool for self-awareness, self-discipline, and self-acceptance. It teaches us to listen to our bodies, to recognize our deepest needs, and to trust in our own inner wisdom. It helps us to detach from the external world and reconnect with the deeper truths that lie within. Through fasting, we learn to live more consciously, more intentionally, and more authentically. It is a practice that offers not just physical benefits, but spiritual and emotional transformation as well, helping us to become the best version of ourselves. Discipline and control are two of the most powerful forces that shape our lives, yet they are often misunderstood and undervalued in a world that celebrates instant gratification and ease. These forces, when cultivated and embraced, have the potential to transform not only our personal lives, but also our relationships, careers, and overall sense of fulfillment. Discipline and control, however, are not merely about restriction or limitation. They are about self-mastery, about understanding what is truly important, and about developing the strength to prioritize those things over fleeting distractions or desires. In the context of fasting, discipline and control take on a profound meaning. Fasting is not just about abstaining from food or indulgence. It is a practice that requires us to exercise control over our impulses, desires, and habits. It demands that we develop a deep sense of discipline in order to resist the constant pull of our cravings. In this sense, fasting serves as a training ground for the mind and spirit, teaching us how to navigate discomfort and temptation with grace, resilience, and awareness. One of the first lessons fasting teaches us is that control is not about denying ourselves pleasure or satisfaction. In fact, it is about recognizing that we are not slaves to our desires. We do not have to give in to every craving or impulse that arises. The key is not to fight against our desires, but to acknowledge them, examine their origins, and then choose a response that aligns with our deeper goals and values. This process requires discipline, the ability to make decisions in the face of discomfort, the strength to stay focused on a larger vision, and the patience to resist short-term temptations for the sake of long-term growth. In many ways, our modern lives are characterized by a lack of discipline and control. We live in an era of constant stimulation, social media, streaming services, news cycles, and endless entertainment all vie for our attention. We are encouraged to live in the moment, to follow our impulses, and to indulge in whatever feels good at the time. This constant barrage of distractions makes it incredibly difficult to focus on anything for long periods of time. It is easy to give in to the immediate gratification of checking our phones, eating unhealthy foods, or buying things we don't need. In this environment, discipline and control seem like distant ideals, concepts that are difficult to practice and even harder to maintain. Fasting, however, is an antidote to this modern condition. It forces us to confront the endless cycle of consumption and to step outside of the patterns that have become so ingrained in our lives. When we fast, we begin to realize just how much of our lives are driven by unconscious habits. We eat when we're not hungry, we check our phones out of habit, and we consume entertainment simply to pass the time. Fasting makes us aware of these behaviors and invites us to reconsider them. It challenges us to ask, why do I do this? What am I really seeking? Through this process of inquiry, we begin to develop a deeper understanding of our impulses and desires. We start to see that our cravings are not inherently bad, but they are often born out of a desire for comfort, distraction, or relief. Discipline, in the context of fasting, is not about suppressing these desires or judging ourselves for having them. Instead, it is about exercising control over them. We learn to pause, to reflect, and to choose a response that serves our greater good. When we resist the urge to eat when we are not hungry, for example, we are not punishing ourselves. We are simply asserting our ability to make decisions that align with our deeper goals, whether that goal is physical health, mental clarity, or spiritual growth. By exercising discipline in the face of our desires, we begin to reclaim control over our lives. One of the most difficult aspects of fasting is the discomfort it brings. Hunger is not easy to ignore, and it can trigger strong emotional and physical responses. In our modern world, where food is always within arm's reach, the feeling of hunger can be unsettling. We are used to responding to hunger quickly, to eating whenever we feel a pang or a craving. Fasting challenges this habit by forcing us to sit with hunger, to feel the discomfort without rushing to satisfy it. This experience is a powerful lesson in control. It teaches us that discomfort is not something to fear or avoid, but something we can learn to tolerate and navigate. It shows us that we are not defined by our cravings and that we have the ability to endure difficult moments without being swept away by them. This experience of discomfort, when approached with mindfulness, can become a tool for personal growth. Instead of reacting to hunger or other discomforts with impatience or frustration, fasting encourages us to observe the sensations without judgment. We learn to recognize that discomfort is temporary and that it will pass. In doing so, we develop resilience, the ability to withstand difficult moments without losing control. We also learn patience, understanding that the things we desire may not always be immediately accessible, and that we are capable of waiting without succumbing to the impulse to act. Discipline and control, when practiced regularly through fasting, also help to strengthen our mental focus. In a world that is constantly vying for our attention, maintaining focus can be a challenge. We are pulled in multiple directions at once, and it is easy to become distracted by external stimuli or by our own internal thoughts and desires. Fasting requires us to cultivate a high degree of mental discipline, to keep our minds focused on the task at hand and not be swayed by distractions. This focus extends beyond the act of fasting itself. It can be applied to every area of our lives, helping us to stay grounded and present in whatever we are doing. The discipline learned through fasting can also have a profound impact on our emotional well-being. In the face of hunger or discomfort, we often experience strong emotions. Frustration, irritability, and impatience are common reactions to the experience of fasting. But fasting also gives us an opportunity to observe these emotions without being overwhelmed by them. It teaches us that emotions, like hunger, are transient, they come and go. By practicing discipline, we can learn to remain calm and composed even in the face of challenging emotions. We begin to see that we are not controlled by our feelings, but that we can control our responses to them. This ability to maintain emotional control is a powerful tool for navigating the ups and downs of life, helping us to stay centered and focused even when things are difficult. Control, when practiced in a mindful way, also allows us to create space in our lives for the things that truly matter. In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, it is easy to become overwhelmed by the demands of others and the pressures of life. Fasting helps us to slow down, to step back, and to reflect on what is truly important. By practicing control over our impulses, we create space to focus on our goals, to connect with our deeper values, and to engage in meaningful activities. This sense of control allows us to live with intention rather than reacting to the chaos around us. Ultimately, discipline and control are about making conscious choices. They are about stepping away from the mindless patterns of consumption and moving toward a more intentional and purposeful way of living. Fasting is a powerful tool for cultivating these qualities, teaching us to recognize and master our desires, to navigate discomfort with resilience, and to focus on what truly matters. It is through this practice of self-mastery that we can create lives of greater meaning, fulfillment, and peace. Discipline and control are also key to developing a strong sense of self. When we exercise control over our impulses, we are essentially asserting our autonomy. We are saying that we have the power to shape our own lives, to make decisions that are in line with our true desires and values. This sense of agency is empowering. It allows us to take responsibility for our lives, rather than being swept along by the current of external influences or internal impulses. By cultivating discipline, we learn to trust ourselves, to rely on our own inner strength, and to make decisions that serve our highest good. When we practice discipline and control through fasting, we develop not just the ability to resist temptation, but the ability to stay aligned with our deeper purpose. We start to see that true fulfillment comes not from indulging every whim or desire, but from living in harmony with our deepest values. The power of discipline and control lies not in the restriction of our desires, but in the freedom that comes from mastering them. By choosing to fast, we choose to live a life of intentionality, focus, and purpose. We begin to understand that real power lies not in the act of controlling others or the world around us, but in the ability to control ourselves. Through fasting, we unlock this power and open the door to a more purposeful and fulfilling life. In the constant noise of daily life, where our minds are flooded with information, opinions, and distractions, clarity often feels like a distant ideal. We live in a world that demands our attention, and we are often swept up by the pace of modern life, the overwhelming presence of technology, and the never-ending demands of work, family, and social obligations. In such an environment, it becomes increasingly difficult to find the mental space to reflect, to gain insight, or to make decisions from a place of clarity. Fasting, however, provides a powerful antidote to this modern condition. It serves as a pathway to mental and spiritual clarity, offering an opportunity to step away from the noise, to clear the fog that clouds our minds, and to reconnect with our deepest thoughts, values, and truths. The act of fasting itself, the conscious decision to abstain from food or indulgence, forces us to slow down, to create space, and to look inward. When we remove external sources of distraction, whether they are food, technology, or entertainment, we begin to notice the clutter in our minds that often goes unnoticed in the rush of everyday life. Fasting strips away the superficial layers of our experience, allowing us to access a deeper level of awareness. It is in this space of stillness and intentional quiet that clarity and insight can begin to emerge. One of the first gifts fasting offers is the ability to quiet the mind. In the absence of constant stimulation, whether from food, social media, or the demands of our busy schedules, we become more aware of the thoughts that are constantly running through our heads. These thoughts, often habitual and unconscious, form the background noise of our lives. They influence our decisions, shape our emotions, and dictate our actions without us even realizing it. Fasting provides an opportunity to observe these thoughts without immediately reacting to them. In this space of observation, we begin to see the patterns that govern our thinking. We can identify which thoughts are productive and which ones are merely distractions. We can also begin to discern the difference between thoughts that arise from our true inner wisdom and those that stem from external influences or societal conditioning. This process of mental clarity is not always immediate, nor is it always comfortable. In the early stages of fasting, as the body adjusts to the absence of food or indulgence, it is common for the mind to become more agitated or restless. The discomfort of hunger, combined with the withdrawal from familiar habits, can stir up emotions and thoughts that we may have been avoiding. These thoughts may include fears, anxieties, unresolved issues, or repressed desires. In the midst of this discomfort, it is easy to become overwhelmed by the flood of thoughts and emotions. However, fasting also teaches us the value of sitting with discomfort. It encourages us to stay present with whatever arises, to observe it without judgment, and to allow it to pass without attaching ourselves to it. As we continue fasting, we begin to notice that the intensity of these thoughts and emotions gradually subsides. The mind becomes quieter, and with that quiet comes the opportunity for deeper reflection. It is in this space of stillness that clarity begins to emerge. We may gain insights into our personal lives, understanding more clearly the motivations behind our actions, the sources of our stress, or the patterns that have held us back. We may begin to see the areas of our lives that require attention or change, or the aspects of ourselves that we have been neglecting. These insights often come not as sudden revelations, but as a gradual unfolding. Through fasting, we create the conditions for clarity to arise naturally without forcing it. The process is one of allowing, of letting go of distractions, and of simply being present with what is. Beyond providing mental clarity, fasting also offers insight into the nature of our desires and cravings. In a world where we are constantly encouraged to consume, whether through food, technology, or material goods, it is easy to lose touch with what we truly need and want. Fasting acts as a mirror, reflecting back to us the true nature of our desires. When we fast, we experience hunger and the desire for food, but we also begin to distinguish between true hunger and emotional or habitual cravings. Fasting helps us see how much of our consumption is driven by external cues, by social pressure, or by the desire to comfort ourselves. This insight is powerful because it reveals the extent to which we are often disconnected from our true needs. It shows us that many of our cravings are not rooted in actual physical hunger, but in emotional or psychological desires. Through fasting, we learn to differentiate between what we truly need for nourishment, whether it be food, rest, or connection, and what we have been conditioned to want for comfort, distraction, or validation. This insight allows us to regain control over our impulses and to make choices that align more closely with our deeper values. When we are no longer driven by the impulse to consume, we are freed from the constant cycle of desire and gratification. We are able to step back and assess what truly matters to us, what nourishes us, and what contributes to our overall well-being. Fasting also provides an opportunity to gain clarity about our goals and purpose in life. In the hustle and bustle of modern life, it is easy to become so focused on the demands of daily existence that we lose sight of the bigger picture. We may find ourselves caught up in a cycle of work, obligations, and responsibilities without taking the time to reflect on whether these activities are aligned with our true purpose. Fasting offers a pause, a moment to step back and reassess our direction. Without the distractions of daily life, we can take stock of where we are, where we want to go, and what we need to do to get there. This process of reflection can bring tremendous clarity. We may realize that we have been pursuing goals that are no longer meaningful to us, or that we have been dedicating our time and energy to things that do not bring us fulfillment. Fasting can help us reconnect with our core values and desires, and in doing so, it can illuminate the path forward. We may discover new goals, new passions, or new ways of living that are more in line with our true selves. This newfound clarity is a powerful motivator. It gives us the confidence and insight to take action, to make changes, and to move forward with greater purpose. In addition to offering clarity about our personal lives, fasting also opens the door to spiritual insight. Many people who engage in fasting do so as part of a spiritual practice with the intention of deepening their connection to a higher power or to their own inner wisdom. Fasting has long been used as a means of purification, a way of cleansing the body, mind, and spirit in order to access deeper levels of awareness. When we fast, we remove the distractions that cloud our connection to the divine or to the deeper dimensions of our consciousness. This creates the space for spiritual insights to emerge. These insights can take many forms. Some may experience a sense of connection to something greater than themselves, whether it is the universe, nature, or a higher spiritual presence. Others may experience a deep sense of inner peace or stillness, a feeling of being in alignment with their true nature. For some, fasting may open the door to moments of profound clarity, where they are able to understand their life's purpose or the deeper meaning behind their experiences. These moments of insight can be transformative, offering guidance, wisdom, and a sense of peace that transcends the ordinary concerns of daily life. Spiritual clarity gained through fasting is often not a single moment of realization, but a gradual unfolding. It is a process of peeling back the layers of ego, desire, and attachment to reveal the truth that lies beneath. As we fast, we may begin to see that many of our worries, fears, and desires are transient and that they do not define us. We may come to realize that our true nature is more expansive, more resilient, and more connected to the world around us than we have ever understood before. Fasting, in this sense, becomes a form of spiritual renewal, allowing us to reconnect with our deepest sense of purpose, peace, and clarity. In conclusion, fasting is a profound practice that provides the opportunity to cultivate clarity and insight on many levels. It offers a space for the mind to quiet, allowing us to gain a deeper understanding of our thoughts, desires, and motivations. It enables us to distinguish between true needs and superficial cravings, helping us make choices that align with our values and well-being. Through fasting, we also gain clarity about our goals and purpose, reassessing our direction and reconnecting with what truly matters. On a spiritual level, fasting offers the chance to access deeper wisdom and insights, fostering a greater sense of connection to ourselves and the world around us. Ultimately, fasting is a powerful tool for gaining the clarity we need to live more intentional, purposeful, and fulfilled lives. Across cultures, religions, and philosophies, fasting stands as a timeless practice, a universal path of transformation. While it has been embraced for centuries as a way to purify the body, clear the mind, and nourish the spirit, its transformative potential extends far beyond mere physical abstention from food. Fasting, when approached with intention, serves as a powerful tool for personal growth, healing, and self-discovery. Its practice is not confined to a specific tradition or ideology, but rather speaks to the universal human experience, guiding individuals toward deeper understanding, spiritual awakening, and inner peace. At its core, fasting is an act of self-discipline and conscious choice. It invites individuals to step away from the routine patterns of daily life and engage in a deliberate process of self-reflection and renewal. In a world that is constantly pulling us in different directions, filled with distractions, noise, and an abundance of material comforts, fasting serves as a deliberate interruption to the status quo. It requires us to pause, to create space, and to reconnect with ourselves on a deeper level. Fasting is not simply about abstaining from food, it is about relinquishing the need for external stimuli and coming back to our inner essence. It challenges us to let go of our attachments and habits, to step out of our comfort zones, and to experience life in a more profound and intentional way. Fasting, in its various forms, serves as a practice of detoxification, not just of the body, but also of the mind and spirit. In the same way that our physical bodies accumulate toxins from the food we eat, the air we breathe, and the environment we inhabit, our minds and spirits can become cluttered by negative thoughts, emotional baggage, and unresolved traumas. Over time, these mental and emotional toxins accumulate, leading to stress, confusion, and a sense of disconnection. Just as a cleanse can restore balance to the body, fasting offers a way to detoxify our inner world. By abstaining from food or other distractions, we create an environment that allows the mind and spirit to release old patterns and to recalibrate. It is in this state of clarity that we are most open to transformation. Fasting is not just an external act, but also an internal journey. When we fast, we are faced with our own limitations, desires, and fears. Hunger, which is a natural and inevitable part of the experience, can bring to the surface emotions and thoughts that we may have been avoiding. It forces us to confront our cravings, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, and to examine the deeper reasons behind them. As we sit with the discomfort of hunger, we become aware of the powerful forces within us that drive our behaviors. This awareness is a crucial part of the transformation process. By observing these impulses without judgment, we begin to develop a deeper understanding of ourselves. We learn to differentiate between what is truly essential and what is merely a passing desire. This insight into our own nature can be deeply liberating, allowing us to let go of unnecessary attachments and to cultivate a more authentic and fulfilling life. Moreover, fasting offers a profound opportunity to cultivate self-control and discipline. In our fast-paced world, we are often encouraged to indulge in instant gratification, to satisfy our desires without hesitation, and to constantly seek pleasure and comfort. Fasting, on the other hand, challenges this mindset by requiring us to exercise restraint. It teaches us that true fulfillment does not come from the immediate satisfaction of our wants, but from the ability to endure discomfort, to delay gratification, and to choose a higher purpose over short-term pleasure. This discipline extends beyond the act of fasting itself. It becomes a metaphor for how we approach all aspects of life. By learning to exercise control over our immediate desires, we gain the strength to face the challenges of life with greater resilience, patience, and focus. In the context of spiritual transformation, fasting has been recognized for its ability to heighten our awareness of the divine or the greater forces at work in our lives. For centuries, fasting has been a central component of spiritual practices used by mystics, saints, and spiritual seekers to deepen their connection to the divine. The act of fasting is seen as a form of surrender, a way of humbling oneself and offering a sacrifice to the higher power. This surrender is not one of weakness, but one of strength, for it requires the courage to let go of personal desires and to trust in something greater. Fasting, in this sense, is a powerful means of purifying the spirit and aligning oneself with a higher calling. It creates a space for spiritual growth and insight, allowing individuals to attune themselves to divine guidance and wisdom. The transformative power of fasting is not limited to personal growth and spiritual development. It also extends to our relationships and interactions with others. When we fast, we become more attuned to our own needs and desires, which in turn allows us to be more present and compassionate toward the needs of others. Fasting helps us to cultivate empathy, as we learn to be more mindful of the struggles and challenges faced by those around us. In our own vulnerability, we are reminded of the importance of connection and community. The self-discipline and clarity gained through fasting can foster a deeper sense of compassion, leading to more meaningful and authentic relationships. On a deeper level, fasting allows us to confront the nature of our attachments. As human beings, we often find ourselves attached to certain things, whether they are material possessions, relationships, habits, or even beliefs. These attachments can create a sense of security and stability, but they can also limit our growth and freedom. Fasting, in its essence, is an act of detachment. It teaches us to release our dependence on external comforts and to find security within ourselves. As we fast, we learn to let go of the things that no longer serve us, whether they are unhealthy habits, limiting beliefs, or toxic relationships. This process of letting go is often accompanied by a sense of liberation. We begin to realize that our true source of strength, peace, and fulfillment does not come from external sources, but from within. Through fasting, we are also able to reconnect with our bodies in a more conscious way. In our modern world, where convenience foods and sedentary lifestyles are the norm, it is easy to lose touch with the body's natural rhythms and needs. Fasting offers an opportunity to listen more closely to the signals of the body. It helps us to discern true hunger from emotional hunger, to recognize when we are overfed or undernourished, and to cultivate a healthier relationship with food. By honoring the body's needs and learning to respond with mindfulness and intention, we create a deeper sense of balance and well-being. Fasting also opens the door to personal healing. In many cases, physical ailments, chronic diseases, and mental health challenges can be alleviated or healed through the practice of fasting. The body, when given the opportunity to rest from the constant demands of digestion and absorption, can enter a state of self-repair. Fasting has been shown to promote cellular regeneration, reduce inflammation, and boost the immune system. Beyond the physical benefits, fasting can also have a profound impact on mental health. By giving the mind the space to calm down and release accumulated stress, fasting can help alleviate anxiety, depression, and emotional tension. It allows individuals to reconnect with their inner sense of peace and harmony, promoting emotional healing and well-being. In the broader context of society, fasting can also serve as a tool for collective transformation. Throughout history, fasting has been used as a form of protest, a way of bringing attention to social injustices and advocating for change. Figures like Mahatma Gandhi, who used fasting as a means of nonviolent resistance, demonstrated the power of fasting as a tool for societal transformation. In this sense, fasting is not only a personal practice, but also a collective one. It calls attention to the need for social and political change and encourages individuals to act with greater awareness and responsibility toward the world around them. Fasting, as a universal practice of transformation, transcends cultural, religious, and geographical boundaries. It offers a means of personal purification, self-discovery, and healing. Through fasting, individuals can cultivate greater discipline, clarity, and insight, reconnect with their bodies and spirits, and experience profound spiritual growth. It is a tool for transformation that reaches deep into the heart of human experience, offering a pathway to greater fulfillment, peace, and wisdom. Whether practiced for health, spiritual growth, or social change, fasting remains one of the most powerful and universal practices available to humanity, capable of transforming individuals and society as a whole.